everybody. Welcome to the Father's Heart.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining this series on the end times and how we should respond during this current crisis. As I mentioned in the promo video, we're going to drop 6 videos, one that you're watching right now, and then 5 additional videos each night for the next 5 nights at 7 p.m. Comment on those. Let me know what you want to hear in the next session. And it should be a fun time. Before we just dive in, I want to touch on a few key terms. So some of you that are watching, this is going to be your first time really digging into the end times a little bit. Maybe you've never heard of it before. Some of you will be seasoned in praying through and studying the end times, and this will be a refresher for you and a chance to dialogue and go deeper. But I just want to hit terms that I'm going to use pretty frequently to make sure we're all on the same page. Now, there's many verses that contain these terms. We're going to go through a lot of them, but not in this first video. I would encourage everyone between this video and tomorrow to read Matthew 24. That's where we're going to spend a good portion of our time to start with. And Matthew 24 contains basically all of these terms, with the exception of, and I believe it even has some stuff in there regarding the rapture. So pretty much all of this is in Matthew 24. It's all over the Bible as well, but that's where we're going to start. So the first term here is the second coming, and the second coming refers to the second coming of Jesus Christ. He declared to his disciples when he left and ascended into the heavens that the same way I'm leaving, the same way you're going to see me return. This is our great hope. Jesus has promised that he is going to return as a king to create a new heavens and a new earth to rule in the midst of his people forever and ever. This is the great hope of believers. So for those that have given him their heart and turned to Jesus and have accepted him, repented of their sins, and believed in him through faith, they've been made righteous by his blood and filled with his spirit. We'll get to be with him forever. When he returns, there'll be no sin, no dying, no wickedness, no evil on the earth. Jesus' second coming. The second thing is the end times. Real briefly on the end times is what we're talking about. It's the period that's directly preceding and during Jesus' second coming. Also will be referred to as the day of the Lord and the end of the age. The next term is the Great Tribulation. There's some discrepancy, debate on how long this time frame lasts, but we're defining the Great Tribulation as this distinct period of about 3.5 to 7 years, most scholars would debate, that happen starting in Revelation in chapter 6 and 7, when Jesus begins to pour out his wrath on the earth. Very similar to Exodus. If you read in Exodus, Jesus is moving on behalf of his people to free them from bondage. That's what he's doing when he's returning. He's coming back to free us in the earth fully from sin and death and wickedness. And so he begins to pour out his judgments as well. Just like in Exodus, you see him pour out plagues on Egypt. That's the period of the Great Tribulation, a very short window, a very intense window of time. Last but not least is the rapture. The rapture is spoken of in the Bible. It's a time frame where when Jesus is coming in his second coming, the church is caught up to meet him in the air. That's the rapture. There's a lot of debate on when the rapture actually takes place, and we will talk about that because I think it's very important. But that should be a good start on terms. All right, so why are we talking about the end times now? The first reason is I believe that this is the generation that the Lord is going to return. If I don't see it, if you don't see it with our own eyes, then I believe our children or our children's children are going to see Jesus' second coming. And so it's important that we begin to study and understand what he's going to do in the end times. The second reason is this current crisis, COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Now, I don't believe this is just this one event is specifically now shifting and saying we're in times. I actually think we've been in increasing birth pangs and getting closer for a while now based on the signs of the times and what's happening around the globe. Here's the thing. Most of the globe has been suffering famine, earthquakes, wars, rumors of wars, plagues, locusts eating crops, all being thrown in prison, persecution. And so most of the world, they study the end times because their hope is not based in this world, because it is difficult for the church around the globe. And so they are already looking towards the day when Jesus returns. That is their hope. Well, the coronavirus, this is really one of the first times in this generation. Past generations, we've seen some things that have really touched America. But it's the first time for a lot of us that our comfort, our way of life has been interrupted and it's out of our control. And so a lot of people right now are looking for answers. And many people are starting to think about the end times and the end of the world and are hungry to know about that. And we're hungry to understand, what is Jesus doing? Is this judgment from God? Is it the devil raging? Is it fake news? What is happening? So we want to begin to address this. And those are the couple reasons why we're talking about this right now. Lastly, I want to leave you with 3 key reasons that I believe it's really, really important for us to begin to study the end times and understand what the Bible has to say about it. Number 1 is that this is about Jesus' leadership. This is how he's choosing to lead his church and how God is choosing to lead. And we want to follow him. We want to love Jesus' leadership in every way that it happens. And so we want to study and understand how he's going to lead the church during the end times and preceding his second coming. The second thing is the Bible is really clear that God cares a lot about the end times. There are 150 chapters on the end times in the Bible. And to put that in a little bit of context, there's 86 chapters that make up the Gospels. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are 86 chapters. So there's about double that on the end time. So clearly God has meant for us to read it, to understand what's going to happen. It's something that's in his heart. The last reason I believe it's really important for us to understand what the end times are, how God is going to lead his church, is that we must be prepared. It's preparation. Regardless of your view on the end times, and there are a lot of them out there, the Bible is explicitly clear that we need to prepare differently for the end of the age than we typically would. It's not business as usual. There's a level of preparation needed to endure and to be victorious and overcoming in the unique generation that the Lord returns. In Matthew 24, which again I encourage you to read, Jesus gives us a couple different reasons why it's so key to prepare. During the end times, I think the Bible is really clear that it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get darker than even what we're seeing now. Wicked is gonna increase and darkness will increase. At the same time, though, the glory of the Lord, the glory of Jesus in the church will also increase in levels that we've never seen before together simultaneously. And here's the thing. Many in the church, it says in the Bible, will fall away from the faith. It says that many will faint from fear. Many people just in the world in general, we can feel that now during the coronavirus. Fear and anxiety is going to increase. So we want to be prepared so that we are not afraid. Many will be offended and will hate God. They'll be offended at his leadership because he's going to lead in some ways that don't make sense to our natural mind, our rational mind. And we want to understand his leadership. So we're not offended. We recognize, no, this is the Lord that's leading, we don't want our love to grow cold. It says, because of the increase of wickedness, the love of many will grow cold. We want to stay a loving people even in the midst of extreme difficulty. And then the fourth thing is that we don't want to be deceived. It says many will come acting like they are the Christ, the Antichrist. There's going to be a lot of confusion. You can feel that around this coronavirus, right? The level of confusion is high. Is this a big thing? Is it not? Is it fake news? Who started this? A lot of confusion. That's going to increase. So we want to be prepared. Hope that you'll join me on the next video. We're going to dive into the scripture, Matthew 24, and walk through some of that. It's going to be a really fun time.